Radiant and Resilient is about mindset and faith to break paradigms and overcome challenges in our life. Because when the mind, body, and spirit are aligned, we literally radiate from the inside out. I'm Kay Vasquez. Let's dive in. In this episode, I really want to share my perspective on ADD or ADHD. What I have learned, especially having experience in Western medicine, going into functional medicine, then learning energy, mindset, emotions, nervous system regulation, and how it's all integrated, especially when it comes to healing. What I've learned and discovered is that in Western medicine, they're quick to put a diagnosis, a label on someone, especially if you have trouble focusing on something, focusing on a task, focusing on doing things that you think that you should do, right? And we've talked about it on the podcast before, especially with my guest, Tyranny Sherelle. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that episode, we dive into her journey when she was diagnosed with bipolar. And so from my perspective, what I have come to realize is that the reason why we can't focus is different factors. And unfortunately, because of Western medicine, people have taken it on as their identity. And I've heard this so many times from the clients that I've worked with, from family members, from friends, from coworkers, even mentors that I worked with. They would say, oh, I have ADD or I have ADHD. And they would say like how it's impacting them, or someone say, oh, well, because I have ADD or ADHD, I'm able to do this. So they either see it from a negative perspective or see it from a positive perspective. But either way, they're claiming this as who they are, as part of their identity. But what I've come to realize is that it's not who you are. And there's a reason why it's hard for you to focus. So I share this because even though I was never diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, because when going to the doctor, it wasn't something that I expressed like, oh, I have trouble focusing, because when I could really get myself to sit down and focus on something, or there was a goal I was trying to hit or something I needed to achieve, I could focus. Sometimes it took a while to actually sit down and focus, or I needed caffeine to help, get me into that state, into that zone. There were different things that I would do to help me to focus. It was never something that really impacted me, but have I struggled with focusing? Absolutely. Especially becoming an entrepreneur and starting my own business. There were moments where I wanted to create a course or write my book, different things, even this podcast, where I had a hard time just really sitting down and focusing on creating and taking care of what I needed to do in those moments. And from my personal perspective, what I realize is that the real reason we have trouble focusing is, one, it's because maybe it's not in alignment with who we are and how we were created. So what I've learned and discovered with emotional intelligence, nervous system regulation, even human design, is that we're all created so uniquely. With human design, it's literally our energetic blueprint. It tells us how we're supposed to show up in the world, how to use our energy efficiently. It reveals our gifts, our strengths, our weaknesses. And so if we are not living in alignment with who we are, we're going to feel that. We're going to feel that energetically. There's something called the not self theme in human design. So for me as a projector, if I'm not living in alignment with who I am, I'm going to feel bitterness. And not just bitterness, but also I will feel frustrated. I will feel overwhelmed. Sometimes we'll go into fear and doubt, which will create confusion. And so that's my cue to tune in and say, is what I'm focusing on right now really in alignment with me and what I'm to do right now or ever? Because some things that I think I should be doing or creating may not be in alignment in that moment, or may actually not be in alignment at all with with what I want to do, with what my soul is desiring. But I said yes because I thought it was something I should do or because I wanted to help someone out, when in reality, it really wasn't in alignment. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that maybe it's hard to focus because we're focused on fear. And that was another thing I had to tune in and check in. Okay, yes, maybe it is in alignment. This is what I should do. But maybe it's hard to focus because I'm going into fear, which is creating confusion, which is creating doubt. And so once I recognized that and I dug deeper into the fear, because there's always a limiting belief there, and shifted that belief into a different belief, which gave me the energy, which then allowed me to focus and get it done because I knew it was in alignment with who I am and what I'm here to do. So that is my perspective when it comes to ADD and ADHD and what I've been able to see. And I remember having this conversation with a friend of mine. We were recently at a retreat and she was like, yeah, I have ADD. It's hard to focus. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, I'm curious, do you really have ADD, or is it maybe because something's not in alignment with who you are? And she's like, that's a curious thought. I've never thought of it from that perspective. And that's really the goal. It's not about you have this, you have that. No, it's tuning in and recognizing and becoming aware that if you're having trouble focusing, it's not because you have a disorder. It's not because of a chemical imbalance. It's not because something is wrong with you. It's because it is your cue to tune in, to check in, and first ask, is this in alignment with who I am and what I'm here to do? And then 2, is this rooted in fear? Is there an underlying emotion that is keeping me from actually being focused, from taking action and doing what I'm here to do? Because if you can really tune in and check in with that and start to navigate that and explore that and go even deeper into that emotion, start to unpack that, because there's going to be some limiting beliefs there and some patterns and conditioning, you can shift out of that and be able to focus on what does feel good, on what is aligned, what you are here to do. And so I share this because it can be so easy to be labeled as something and claim that as your identity, when at the end of the day, that's not who you are. It's just because maybe you're not using your energy efficiently. Maybe you're not operating in alignment with who you really are. So if you have been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, or have tendencies of ADHD, ADD, have not been diagnosed, but find yourself having trouble focusing, again, I encourage you to really tune in and ask yourself those 2 questions and just check in and see where you're at. And if you need additional support getting to the root to helping you to release the emotion, to identify the limiting belief, to shift the limiting belief, reach out to me. Let me know. I'm here to help you and support you in that process, because there's so much deeper going on than we realize. And we're not here to dim our light. We're not here to live in fear. We're here to show up fully, authentically, who we are, who God created us to be, to share our gifts with the world, because each and every single one of us has such a beautiful gift. For me, like I said, if I have trouble focusing, that's my clue to tune in. Because most of the time it's because my nervous system's dysregulated, because there's emotions that I'm feeling linked to limiting beliefs that I need to tune inward and do the work on, that I need to process, that I need to release, that I need to shift, which is going to shift my energy, which then allows me to become focused and realigned with who I am and my mission, my purpose, and what I'm here to do. And I want that so much for you, because true healing, true freedom is found when we release the labels. We let go of the labels, the diagnosis. That's not who you are. And that's not how we should be living and showing up in this life, it only dims our light. It only reduces our energy. It reduces our impact. It reduces the ability to connect, to love, to have patience, to have grace, to have joy in this life. If we can let go of the identities, the labels, the diagnosis, and really return back to who we are, that's when we're healed. That's when we have no problem focusing. We're completely present. We're able to connect. We're able to just enjoy this life from a place of love and experience so much joy. And that's exactly what I want for you. If you are currently struggling in any way, know that there's so much going on than a physical diagnosis, a disorder. There's a mental, emotional, a spiritual component as well. And it takes someone who's willing to dive in deep, to go there with you, to create this safe space. Because it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be hard. It can be very gentle. It can be very loving. And the clients who've been able to go there with me allow themselves to open up to the deeper mental, emotional, spiritual root, have found so much healing. And they're like, wow, this was amazing. This was magical. They didn't know what was possible. Because of that, they've been able to find so much healing from within, which has helped them to heal their physical ailments. So yes, this is about ADD and ADHD, but it's all connected. It's all connected. Because if you're having trouble focusing, brain fog, whatever it is, I'm sure there's other imbalances that are happening in the body. So if you want to dive in deeper, book a connection call with me. I'd love to chat more and see how I can support you on this journey. In the meantime, keep staying tuned. If you haven't yet, subscribe, leave a review, and keep tuning in because, as always, I have so much that I want to share with you that's going to help you step into your most radiant and resilient self.
Radiant and Resilient is about mindset and faith to break paradigms and overcome challenges in our life. Because when the mind, body, and spirit are aligned, we literally radiate from the inside out. I'm Kay Vasquez. Let's dive in.